Hello and welcome to the Recovery Matters podcast from CCAR, the podcast where putting recovery first is always the goal. Here we present interviews, discussions, stories, and speeches to cultivate the understanding and acceptance of the power, hope, and healing of recovery from alcohol and other addictions. Here are your hosts, Phil and Sandy Valentine.
Hi, Phil.
Good morning, Sandy.
I had such a pleasant surprise yesterday.
Yesterday?
I dialed in to a webinar that you were doing, even though I hate that phrase webinar, but
what would you call it?
A virtual chat.
I like digital discussion.
Yeah,
DD.
That was good.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to attend, even though you were the speaker featured. And I was pleasantly surprised how entertaining and informative you were.
I even got a dad joke in there.
You got quite a few dad jokes in there.
Oh, I did?
But it was about multiple pathways of recovery, and I love learning about new ones. And I particularly enjoyed, whether you did or not, the mani-pedi pathway. Because while I don't consider it a pathway, it's a nice feature of self-care.
Well, I don't even know if I would include like fingernails and toenails in my tapestry of recovery.
It has nothing to do with that.
It's like crud.
You're totally missing the point.
Like toenail crud and fingernail crud that would just kind of, it would ruin my tapestry.
You are allowing someone to care for you.
Yeah,
in
that's
a
not happening.
Deeply personal way.
Yeah, that's not happening.
I would love it to happen to you, but that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to meet somebody cool, according to you.
Well, of course, but he was also on the webinar, the digital discussion yesterday, too.
Discussion, yes.
You want to say hi, Richie?
Hi.
Well, you can say hi, Richie. When I tell people,
Hi,
they
Richie.
usually go, hi, Richie. Introduce yourself. Who are you? What do you do?
I'm Richie.
Yeah?
Rich Walsh. I'm a recovery coach for the Department of Corrections program.
Yeah.
Person in long-term recovery.
How long you been a Department of Correction recovery coach for us?
Since February.
So that's about 8-9 months now, right?
Yes.
We tried to get you for a long time.
Yes, that's what I
But
heard.
that's a whole nother story. But we're finally glad we did. So I know that I told you that your supervisor, Brian, he says, the way I supervise Richie is just to get out of his way.
Oh, that's the best.
That's a good thing, I guess, right?
That's the best compliment you can possibly get. Are you nervous?
No.
Yeah, I don't think so. You're pretty calm, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, right? He's always very calm. That's why I like him. He's very cool and calm. Just like you. Always so calm.
I am.
Always so cool.
People think that I am.
Always so collected.
They just don't see what's going on inside my head.
What happens when you get angry?
I cry.
Do you ever get angry and yell?
No.
When was the last time you yelled at anybody or anything?
2006, I think.
2006.
That I yelled.
Yeah. And you remember?
That I yelled. That's when the whole family gave me a standing ovation because I yelled. And I was yelling at the kids. That wasn't exactly the response that I was hoping from.
Wow. We have a bunch of comedians in our house.
But I have been crazy mad in the past couple of months.
And all you do
I cry.
And you cry.
Yeah.
I yelled at the dog a few days ago when he pulled the ceramic dish off the counter and ate half a stick of butter.
Oh, wow.
And the dish was smashed all over the floor, and he knows better.
It's because he was mad at Phil.
I hadn't taken him out for a walk in a couple days, so...
But we're here to talk about Richie.
Who?
Richie.
Richie?
Richie.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
Dogs are good.
How do you get mad?
How do I get mad?
Yeah. How do you express your anger?
I believe I take it on everyone else.
Yeah?
To be honest with you.
Oh, the normal way.
The normal way. Yeah, the normal way. Don't internalize it. So we like to start from beginning, stories of recovery, all that, and talk about how the pathway to where you ended up, like sitting here. We like to go back as far as you can remember.
My mind goes back to East Hartford. I grew up in East Hartford.
You did?
Yeah.
Next door to me.
Okay.
Manchester, East Hartford. There's a little rivalry there, I would say.
Yeah, I've been in Manchester. Mm-hmm. I lived in Manchester a few times.
Yeah, a few times.
A few times.
I lived in East Hartford once,
Yeah.
right on Burnside Avenue. It has since been razed to the ground. Is that what you call it, razed, when you knock it down?
Razed.
Yeah.
That's a big word.
was
I'm
a big
impressed.
word.
I'm impressed.
Thanks, Phil.
I'll add that to the vocabulary because
Yeah.
it has been raised to the ground. Because I'm from Burnside area, right next to Martin Park.
Yeah.
I grew up there most of my life. Let's see.
Brothers and sisters?
I have a brother. I have a brother. He's younger than me.
So you're the oldest brother.
Yeah. My father said that he had two kids, that one went to the Department of Corrections to learn his lessons, and the other one went to UConn.
Oh, that's what he says.
Yeah, so that's how it works.
Does it still have a sting?
It works. My little brother's doing well. He's my little big brother that I look up to. So
That's cool.
he's an accountant. He's doing good. Me personally, I got in trouble at a young age. I got suspended in fourth grade for the first time for fighting.
Fourth grade?
Yeah, yeah, it was challenging. It was
Did you
definitely
win
challenging.
that fight?
I just told the story the other day actually to my wife, and it was I got pushed. I got pushed to the point where I exploded. Took out my frustration on everyone. I think I was angry as a kid. The typical trauma people say that you suffer, you deal with, or you don't deal with, or you deal with it one way or another. And I guess I chose to block it all out and became part of the street life, I'd say.
Are all your parents still involved in your life today?
Absolutely.
So even your biological father, was he there the whole time?
No, he's never been there.
Yeah.
I've run into him in jail,
Yeah.
in county jail, on suicide watch, things like that. We've run our paths similar way. But other than that, I haven't seen him. I haven't seen him in years, actually, since I stopped going to jail. So I hit the streets at a young age. I got locked up when I was 15, 14, or I say locked up, but it's at Connecticut Junior Republic out in Litchfield. But I was there for like 13 months, and I just learned how to be better at things that I wasn't supposed to do. And then I came home, and my parents moved to Enfield. So then I just felt like I stuck out in Enfield like a sore thumb because I was from the city and I moved to Enfield and it was like real different. So I just used that to my advantage to manipulate life and sold drugs basically. Sold drugs and had a child at the age of 17 and had an apartment, dropped out of school, sold drugs for a living. I also did like electrical work, construction work. I did things like that just to try to do the right thing, I would say. But my main focus was basically selling weed. That was like my thing.
In high school, though, you were in East Hartford in high school?
I went to East Hartford High for about 2 months. And the kid that came back from the pencil sharpener poked me in the back of the neck with a pencil, and I pulled out a starter pistol in class, and I put it to his face. So I didn't last long in that school.
So were you considered you were a good student? Were you an athlete?
No,
Did you do any of that?
No, I didn't do any of that.
Yeah?
I played baseball as a child up until like 13, and then I realized I could sell drugs and make money, so I never played baseball again.
Wow. So something about the selling the drugs got you right away.
Yeah, it was just I don't know, just the fame and the fast life and the people in my neighborhood were like that, I guess.
It was mostly weed, or what else you sell?
At that time, it was weed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, wait a minute. Let's go back to the starter pistol.
Well,
the whole school must have locked down, right?
Well, that was East Hartford High.
So it wasn't all that unusual.
Stop.
I think it just started at that point.
Gosh.
I know, I'm terrible.
But I got sent to TEP, which is an alternative school. And Wali Islam was the principal, and it was like a hands-on school where they could restrain you and they could do all that type of thing. And then from there, I went to Connecticut Junior Public. Yeah, so
And what are your parents doing through all this?
trying to cope and figure
Yeah.
it out, I think, you know. Yeah, it was, I can imagine it'd be challenging because, you know, raising kids now is challenging for me. You know, at my age, to have a 7-year-old at my house is not easy, and he struggles with a lot of the same things I struggled with, I think, you know.
But you're there,
Absolutely.
so it's different.
Well, how old is your first child?
My first child, she was born in 92. And my other daughter, she was born in 96. So I think she's going to be 24. And then my son, he was born in 99. My other daughter, she was born in 2001. And then my son now was born in 2013.
That's a lot of kids.
It's 5.
5 kids.
Sounds familiar.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my wife has 3.
So there's 8.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know if he's peaceful or just like shell shocked.
Maybe a little both. Who
That's a
knows?
lot.
But so, where were we in the story?
Well, starter pistol ended up in juvenile.
Why were you? Why'd you have a starter pistol on you? Do you even know?
I
Remember?
don't even remember. I think I got it in the street somehow because, I don't know. Nowadays, like, why would you have a starter pistol? It doesn't do anything. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, it was the stupidest thing you could think of. That's how people get killed nowadays.
Yeah.
You know? But I guess I thought it was cool.
Okay.
At that age. I don't know.
And then you're at this place in the junior. What is it? The Connecticut Junior
Republic.
Republic. That's an interesting name for what is it really?
It was basically a residential program. There's
A
like
residential-
cottages and...
Is it a prison?
No.
You could leave.
Yeah, there's no fence.
Wasn't there somebody else we had that went there? Like I think that was like a Mindy got sent there. Remember Mindy Richardson? She got sent there too.
But she went to juvenile detention.
Oh,
Yeah, this was like a camp. I learned how to fly tie.
You did?
I learned how to when you salt a hide,
Yeah.
like rabbit
Tanning
hide,
and all that kind of
tanning.
stuff.
I learned how to do ceramics. Like, you could take, you know, they're trying to get you interested in doing other things in life, you know.
Yeah.
And you had groups to discuss it, and archery. I took archery.
Did you like that?
I did like
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
those things. I think that's why I mentioned them, because I did. They stuck out to me, you know. And it's a beautiful place. It was out in Litchfield, like Goshen, Litchfield line.
Wow.
It was, I mean, I kind of liked it, to be honest with you.
Were you still using when you're in the program there?
I wasn't using it at that point in my life.
Oh,
were
really?
just
You were
selling.
Yeah.
Wow.
How did you
never
manage
use
that?
the product? The number one rule.
Like, no, really. How'd you manage that?
You don't even know
It's
what movie
pretty
that's from,
unusual.
do you? No,
I mean,
it's
I might have smoked a little weed here and there as a kid, or drank a little bit here and there, but it wasn't like what I did every day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
probably why you stayed in business for as long as you did.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Probably.
That's Al Pacino, Scarface. You never used the product.
I never saw the movie.
But then he started to use the product, and he ended up what?
See, that was my dream, to become like Scarface. That's why I took this road in life.
And did you get there?
No, not really.
So tell us the story. Come on, tell us the story.
So, 2001. So I start moving more weed. I start going to different states. I start doing things like that, unfortunately. And I end up in Florida. I'm using at this point. I'm selling coke by now, and I haven't been incarcerated yet. And we're buying and selling guns and things like that. Like, it's like part of it. It's like, I don't know, that lifestyle. It just came with it. Mm-hmm. And we
We'll talk about that day, that incident.
Yeah, I'm getting to that. I'm trying to figure out how I got to that point.
Well, just
so
what happened at this incident?
Yeah, so I was doing some things, and then I ended up going to Florida, and because the people that I bought from out this way weren't around at the time. And my best friend told me, don't chase no waterfalls. And that was the guy that I got my stuff from. And he wasn't around. He was in Jamaica at the time. And I went to Florida to go meet some guys from Puerto Rico. And I got in the back of the car, and they gave me some packages, some stuff, and it didn't smell right. And they turned around and put a Desert Eagle on the back of the seat and said, "Run it, Papa." And I was like,
They
kind of
put a what on the back of the seat?
a 50 caliber
Oh.
pistol, and the passenger and the driver both had guns, and I had a little gun, and we ended up having a shootout in the car, like inside the car, and I got hit, and I was able to manage to my way to get out of the car, and then so it was in a Bennigan's parking lot, and then I ended up getting through the crowd, and then some lady came and she took my holster, and then I remember being in the back of the ambulance, and then I woke up after surgery, and I got my clothes and I got out of there.
Where'd you get hit?
I got hit in the arm. Actually, I guess I went to go reach for the door and shoot like this, and I got hit right here, and it got stuck in here. So like my hand doesn't move, all my fingers are tied together, and like my whole arm is like it's different.
Wow.
But yeah, that's how that is.
A shootout in a car.
Yeah, it was pretty intense, I guess. It happened real fast. Another car, a blue Navigator, pulled up behind us to try to block us in. And then I ran, and they kept trying to shoot at me while I was running to the building.
Do you think they were after you for whatever reason, or
They wanted, the 40 grand that I had. That's what
Wanted
they
to give
wanted.
you fake stuff.
Yeah.
Bad.
Yeah, but I had a
Badge.
bad feeling. Like, I took off my chain before I got in the car. Like, I left half the money in the car. Like, I had a bad feeling about the whole thing.
did you lose all the money?
No, actually, it went into police compound. Like, they
Yeah.
held it as evidence for, 2 years. And then I filed for it back and tried to claim as a victim of a violent crime.
Uh-huh.
Because I tried to say that I was selling dogs. At
Yeah.
the time, I was selling, cane Corsos and stuff.
Selling what?
Cane Corsos. Like
You
Italian
were?
Masters. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Dogs and
Dogs,
cocaine. Didn't think
cocaine,
about
weed,
that before.
drugs. You had to keep a lot in your head, or how'd you keep track of all that stuff?
That's what I did. I mean, that's just how my life was.
Now,
Yeah.
Did you shoot anybody in that?
I don't know what happened.
They
You
got
don't.
out of there?
I got out of the car. That's all I made it. I made it save. God saved me.
And you were bleeding all over everything and all that stuff.
Yeah, my
I'm
arm
sure.
was sorry. My
Yeah.
arm was this way.
Oh, blew it right up.
Yeah, it was sideways.
And so right after surgery, you bail out of the hospital?
Yeah, I had to go.
Because you thought you were going to get arrested?
No, I just had to go. They came and questioned me and some things like that, but I had to get out of there.
Or you might have
Or they come back after
'em.
you?
I just wanted to leave.
You had
I
to
don't
get
know.
out of there.
I
So
just-
where'd you go?
This is back when we had Nextels, so I called the guy that was with me, and he just came to get me in
Yeah.
Orlando, the hospital.
So this lifestyle, are you living large? Do you have what do you
I'm
got?
renting a house,
In Connecticut?
yeah, in
Yeah.
Enfield.
Yeah.
And in a decent area, middle class area.
Mm-hmm.
Playing the part. you
Yeah.
know. Daycare at the house.
Really?
Yeah, really doing what you think that. I mean, to me, it was the normal. Just the survival techniques that I learned, and obviously I know now that they're not right. I knew then they weren't right, but that's just what I did.
Yeah.
So it was like second nature to me.
So your arm gets almost blown off. Did that curb your
No, not at
anything?
all.
Well, so what did you do anything differently after that?
Yeah, I
Didn't go to Florida anymore.
just started over.
I started over.
You know what I mean? I just started over. Like I still had half the money left, and
Yeah.
I just started
Was
over.
that all your money? Was like 40,000 all your money
No,
at the time? You had a little
we
more?
gathered money together from separate different people, like three of us, and then I still had some, and
Mm-hmm.
we did it like that.
Okay.
But
So are you with the mother of your children?
no.
Because the daycare It's not.
Yeah, no, we're no longer.
You're not
together.
running the daycare. No,
No.
I meant back then when you come back from Florida.
Oh yeah, I was with the mother of my child then.
Yeah.
My children then. Yes.
What was her reaction? I'm always curious about.
When they found I was in the hospital, I came home. I didn't tell anybody. I told them that I fell on a curb, but like my mother knew I got shot. She just said it right away, because my arm was in a cast. But they wanted to replace my bone with an ulna bone, or a metal rod or another person's bone. So I cut the cast off myself because I couldn't pull the clutch on my motorcycle. So I just left it alone and it healed the way it healed. And that's
I love these little details. Like, okay, I did cut the cast off so I can pull the clutch on my motorcycle.
It made sense to me. I don't know.
Yeah. Does it make sense to you now?
I mean, my hand's okay.
Okay. All right. No rod. No.
No,
Nothing.
no, nothing. I just didn't want something else in my body like that. You know, our
Yeah.
bodies heal amazingly.
Yeah.
Amazingly.
You're a living testament to that, right?
Yes, I am definitely. If I fast forward a little while, when I got hit in the face with a bat, I had metal rods in my jaw and metal plates in my jaw, and this is when I was using heavy. I took them out, and my mouth is fine now.
You took the metal rods out yourself.
Yeah, I didn't I unscrewed them and left them out. Yeah,
Cheek.
I really did.
You're like,
I have no words for any of this.
I know. So,
But I was heavy
Just because-
using at that point.
Yeah.
So you were
medicated.
well medicated. That's what
Yeah.
I was going to say
Okay.
too.
Because having injured myself frequently and the pain, but yeah, cocaine wasn't part of the equation.
All right. So you're living this lifestyle. We were at this point where you went to Florida, and deal gone bad, shootout in a car, blow up your arm, come back to Connecticut. What's the next major thing in this kind of sequence that you remember? Major incident.
Buy another gun.
Yeah.
That's my next step.
Uh-huh.
And I get caught with the gun coming back from New York, and then I go to jail for the first time.
For how long?
90 days
Yeah.
For what? What was the?
for possession of a firearm.
Oh,
How'd you get caught?
We got pulled over on the way back, and
For speeding or just?
I was in the passenger seat sleeping,
Oh.
and the kid that was driving, he was not sleeping, I guess. I don't know what he was doing.
Yeah.
He was probably smoking weed or doing something, and
Yeah.
we got pulled over for speeding in Cromwell. And
Oh.
I woke
You're
up.
almost home.
Yeah, almost home. I woke up to the police knocking on the window and then looking and seeing his holster right there.
Uh-huh.
So I know he has his gun on him, and my gun's right on my waist. So I'm like, I know they caught his gun, so I know they're very nervous about coming to the car to wonder what I have, you know.
Yeah.
So I just put my hands up, and they took the gun. I went to police department, you know, got booked and all that stuff. Hired a fancy lawyer, you know, paid like all kinds of money for my lawyer, and he did the same thing. And I got 90 days with 4 years suspended, 4 years probation, and I think he got the same thing. And I went to Enfield Medium, like when they were still.
How old are you at this time? Roughly.
This was 2001, so I think
Yeah.
I was about 28, I think, because I made it
Yeah.
that far. I was, like, proud to make it that far without going to jail. It's, like, a big thing.
To make it 20 without going to jail.
Yeah, without getting the inmate number. Like,
So you were a good criminal, would you say?
we made it like 10 years longer than most.
Well, you didn't get caught right away, which I guess is a lot of criminals do.
Yeah, but, and then once I got my inmate number, it was 2001. From 2001 to 2003, I was using because I already got shot. So, like, Percocets, Oxycontin, all that stuff was just, like, I was eating it like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's then the whole process happened from there, you know. As much as I can get all day, all night, you know.
Yeah.
And I still kept managing my business, you know. And I ended up catching a case for some drugs and some machine guns and some other stuff. And the feds watched over it, but they didn't take the case. They just observed the case because they're like real particular about if they're gonna charge you with because of the point system and all that stuff. If they're gonna charge you, they're gonna make sure they got you. Like the feds aren't gonna like let you get away. So the state took it, and I ended up beating the case after sitting for like, I want to say 13 months. It seemed longer, like 2 years, but I think it was only 13 months. And then I got let out. I was in high bond at McDougal. Actually, Walker, the first time Walker was high bond, A1 was the unit I was in. And I was 23-1. And I got to come out of that yellow jumpsuit and had to sign up paper saying I wouldn't sue the state of Connecticut for wrongfully incarcerating me. I signed it. I was ready to go. And then I didn't have 6 months on the street after that. By every 6 months, I was back in jail for something, you know.
Yeah, you were on their radar.
I was on the radar. I was using heavy.
You weren't careful.
By 30, I sniffed cocaine for the first time, and it all went downhill.
What were you like in prison? Well, how did you do your time?
I kind of stayed to myself. I read a lot. I read a lot of self-help books. That's what I read, like Eckhart Tolle, The Oprah Power Now.
I listened to her on the way here.
Yeah.
Like things like that. Qigong, like I practiced things like that. Like I just was kind of like a unique individual, just and found what gratitude was about. Like I learned about that stuff. I just searched for myself. Being in jail for me was the only time I felt really free.
Huh.
It's kind of ironic, right?
No, it's a brilliant way to say it, though.
I didn't have to survive.
Right.
You know, survival was already there for me, so I could be able to find the time to find me. You know, and I took advantage of that.
How interesting. Were other inmates, did you intimidate other inmates?
I don't think so.
Yeah?
I wasn't there for that.
Yeah.
I was there to get out. You know, like I didn't catch any tickets. I didn't do anything like that. I might have caught a ticket for drawing on the wall, like, you know, because I'm an artist, so I drew like this big skull in my cell with flames in its eyes and things like that. But
What did you draw with?
I used a pencil shavings and a sponge.
And you created this skull.
Yeah, it came out cool.
I bet.
Did you do any of your tattoos?
I did.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. I did.
Cool.
All right, so you brought it up, though. Where in the sequence did you get the bat to the face, and how and why?
Well, before I get to that, I think it's important to mention that every time I came home, I did go to a sober house.
Yeah.
I did try to get into a sober house. I did try to get clean, but it just didn't work out. Like I ended up selling drugs and then using drugs, and every single time. And I failed at that many times. And
Was that like pressure to support the family? Like, how are they doing?
I did come home and feel like, oh, it's Christmas time. I got to get the kids something. Like I did do that. The most recent last time. I really didn't have a relationship with my kids growing up as they grew up because I was in prison so much, and there was a lot of animosity. And I think their mother kept them from me because of the lifestyle I lived. And I understand that now. At the time, I didn't. But I understand that now. And it's probably good for them. But it's taken time to build a relationship with kids. And I don't have a relationship with all of them. But, you know, we have grandkids now. So, it's, you know, another chance in life. I ended up moving to Tennessee to try to get like a geographical change, as they say. But I still took me with me. I still ended up in trailer parks out there. And I still ended up smoking crack and shooting crystal meth for the first time. And they don't have heroin out there. They only have morphine. So I was shooting crystal meth and morphine. I don't know how I'm still alive. I really don't. I was manufacturing crystal meth. I ended up coming back out here, and I was doing checks, writing checks at this point now, and I ended up giving somebody a check, and they went to cash it, and they got caught cashing it. It was a post office money order. I was making traveler checks and post office money orders, and they got caught. And then I went to go see them late one night, and they called my name. I just remember them calling my name, and I turned around and got hit in the face with a bat. So I was told. I don't really know. And I guess they kept hitting me, and I woke up in the hospital 3 months later.
3 months
Whoa.
later.
3 months later.
I don't know. I'm looking at his face. His face kind of perfect. Like, I don't know.
Wow.
You have no idea. God is good. I'm telling you. I've had broken.
Dawn's like, she's really gonna go there, right? But yeah, like your nose is straight.
No, I've had fractured cheekbones from after getting hit in the face with a bat, and I came home. I got kicked in the face, and it's all healed. I don't know. It just healed.
You're a good healer.
I guess that's what.
So when he said writing checks, it's a little different than the way I occasionally write a check.
Not out of his checkbook. He was
Yes.
actually creating checks.
Yeah.
I
Forging
learned
them.
so much.
Catch
during
me
this
if you can, like
Yeah, routing numbers, all that stuff.
Yeah, right. Like Leonardo DiCaprio in that movie, right? Catch me if
Great
you can.
movie, great
movie. You could relate, huh?
Yeah.
So what hospital were you in? Here locally?
I was in St. Francis on the
Wow.
on the sixth floor.
And you were in a coma for three months?
3 months, yeah.
And what was it like to come out of that? Do you even remember coming out of it? Or
I
anything?
don't.
Yeah.
I know I came out and I was handcuffed to the bed.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that I was on a mattress that,
3 months they handcuffed you.
yeah, I guess I was medically induced
Yeah.
after.
So they knew when you were
so they
coming
knew.
out. Yeah.
So, because I woke up and they were putting insulin in my stomach, like hitting me with insulin here, and I didn't understand it. Like, I don't know why to this day. But I was like, oh, I don't need that. Like, I'm not diabetic. I don't know what that is. And then somebody was next to me coloring, like a nurse or something. And I just wanted to leave. And they've had me on this mattress that would beep every time I would try to get up, so that I wouldn't hurt myself. I
Yeah.
wouldn't leave or something like that.
Fall risk.
This is after the handcuffs came off. And I guess I had to learn to walk and talk all over again. I don't recall it.
What year was this? Do you know?
Or
This
how long
was
ago?
2012.
Wow. It's not all that long ago.
2012.
And so after you learned to walk and talk again, did you go back to the life?
I had a feeding tube in me,
Yeah.
and I ended up. I had to. They wouldn't let me out until I had a safe place to go, and I had therapy set up, and I did everything I could to find my resources to get out and network with everybody I knew. And my mother ended up letting me stay there for a while, but I ended up using the Percocet 5s like they were going out of style, and, things like that. And I ended up leaving there, my mother's house, and ended up right back on Brook Street and Bond Street in Hartford, buying drugs with a feeding tube in me, like just holding it up or taping it up.
I've had one of
Yeah.
those. That's serious.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't eat because your jaw was so messed up, or why'd they have a
I was eating at this point because I was using, so I didn't care.
Oh, okay.
But I just didn't know what to do with this feeding tube. I didn't understand how it was put in. I didn't know anything about it. I did later go and have it pulled out. Mm-hmm. And, the doctor kind of got me. I was like, yo, do you know what you're doing? Like, do you, doc? And he was like, oh, yeah, no problem. We're just going to count to 3 and pull it out. I was like, no, seriously, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
He's like, 3, 2, bang. I was like, ah. And he just
Phil got his kicked out by a toddler when he had it, and
Yeah.
he had a yeah.
So
that
you have the
was
scar?
Oh, yeah.
big scar, big hole. Yeah.
My age, I don't, scar, so what?
We did end up getting rid of it that day too, didn't we?
We did.
We.
Well, he took it out that
I
day,
drove
yeah.
him. I showed up.
It's a weird thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was using then heavy.
Do you have any emotions at this? Like, what's happening to you inside as you're, you're doing all
Inside?
that self-help stuff when you're in jail and reading all that, and then you're going and you're diving right back into everything. Like, what is swirling inside you?
Well, I remember sitting right on Winter or Green Street. It's right next to Bond Street or Brook Street. And I remember telling myself, I just need to go back to jail so I could come home to a clean slate and try to figure this out again.
Mm-hmm.
I remember saying that because I was living in an abandoned building at that time. I was like, it was bad. It was just bad. And I ended up going back to jail. I came home. At that point, after I came out of the coma, I married the girl I was with at the time because she had told me that my family wanted to pull the plug on me while I was in there, and she thought it was best that she had control over the situation. Now, me using with her thought it was a great idea. Yeah, bright idea. One of those bright ideas we get.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up getting married. We still were using. She ended up getting pregnant. We still were using. She used the whole time she was pregnant. And then she got incarcerated. I got incarcerated. She had the baby while she was in Niantic. DCF took the baby.
In prison, Niantic's prison, yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And she came home. She did everything she had to do. She got the baby back. I came home. We thought we had it all figured out. I had another bright idea to sell some drugs. I started using again. And next thing you know, that was like the green light for her to use. And we drove around getting high all day long with my son in the back seat at 2 years old. Or a year and a half, 2 years old, something like that. And I told my PO that he needed to lock me up, otherwise I was going to die, and my son was going to be in the back seat. So he put a GPS on me, and I told him that this is a corpse finder. Like, I'm bad right now. Like, this is a corpse finder. I'm not going to follow no rules. I'm not coming in at 9 o'clock. I'm not doing any of that. So keep an eye on this, because when it stops moving, come get my son. Like, for real. And he ended up coming to get me. I was boosting something somewheres at CVS or nicotine patches or doing something. And he came and got me. I thanked him. I thanked him a lot. I'm grateful for that man. And he put me in a timeout program. My son was taken back into custody. I might have that a little mixed up how it happened, but I know he was taken back into custody. So this is like the second time he's in DCF. When he was born and I was incarcerated, I was getting visits. DCF was bringing him to me in Harford County when I would visit him. So he was born addicted. He was born on hydromorphine. I went to the timeout program, and it was like that's where like I had the aha moment. The timeout program really changed my life. It was really the fork in the road where, like, I was in jail, but I did all my time in like 23 and 1 lockdown. You know, majority of my time McDougal Walker, because I have assault and police or assault and safety public or something like that. So we'd wake up every morning and meditate together, like the whole dorm. So that's not jail for me. That was like, well, this is weird. And people were like, I went to group all day. Miss Johnson was a great addiction counselor. She introduced me to Eric Thomas, which is a motivational speaker. And I just, like, the 10 rules of success, like I use them to this day with my recoveries. It's just motivational videos are like part of my recovery now. It's like a big part of my pathway. Mm-hmm. And coming back from the chow hall, somebody had told me that if I give up something this small, I'll gain something this big. Mm-hmm. And it just like really stuck with me. And I remember going back to my bunk and sitting there and like crying for the first time in jail. Like literally, I'm in a level 2 or 3 facility crying because I just seen Like, I was listening to Eminem, and I heard this part of that song where it's like, maybe it got clean for you, subliminally me. It's something like that, some type of lyric like that. And I just seen a white flag in my head, and I just lost it. And I just gave up. I surrendered to the addiction right there. I did. And
How long ago was that?
2016.
Yeah.
And when I got out of there, I went to the Cheney house. And before I left there, this man told me, listen, it's this simple. Not Cheney house. Before I got out of Carl Robinson, he told me the morning or the night before I got out, he told me, he said, it's this simple. If there's drugs on this side of the road and no drugs on this side of the road, walk on the side of the road with no drugs. I'm like, okay. Makes sense, you know? Right.
Pretty straightforward.
Right. So when I get to the Cheney house, I'm there. And while I'm at the Carl Robinson, I learned about Vivitrol. So I would think that I can get it there. I see a girl from Wheeler with the Vivitrol bag, and I'm like, can I get it? How do I sign up? You know, because people in jail are like, oh, I'm not doing it. Too many side effects, this and that. And I'm like, listen, I shot up a puddle water. I'm not worried about side effects. Like, if it's going to help me, I'm trying it. Like, I tried every other MAT, so I'm trying this. And I think it's a great MAT. And so I come home to the Cheney house, and I'm telling them that.
So maybe some listeners, why did you take Vivitrol? What does it do for what's it supposed to do when you take it?
Well,
inject it.
It completely stopped all my cravings
For
opioids.
right. So okay, good.
Completely.
Yeah.
Like, it was the last thing on my mind. And it was a blocker. They told me it was a blocker, and I couldn't get high if I wanted to anyways.
Right.
So with that mindset, like, I'm on Weathersfield Ave, and I'm white, and everybody's like, yo, are you straight? You want something? You want something? You want something? I'm like, yo, I'm straight. Like, leave me alone. Like, I don't want nothing. And so I mean, I made it through that, and I believe in my heart that Vivitrol had a big part in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I advocated to get the Vivitrol because they wanted to send me to CRT and this and that. So I really advocated to go to Wheeler Clinic, and I put myself in IOP. I put myself in relapse prevention. I put myself in cognitive behavior therapy. I put myself in family therapy. I put myself in individual therapy. I put myself in so much therapy, my insurance wouldn't cover it no more. They told me that we can't see you no more.
Fixed.
Yeah.
But I wanted, but they told me that
fixed.
they wouldn't stop seeing me. I told them that they told me that they would see me and help me until I got my son back.
Yeah.
And I didn't have my son back yet. So.
And you're at Cheney House this whole time?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a 90-day work release program.
Yeah.
So most people come in and go fast, and that's what I've done in the past. I stayed there for a year.
Right.
By choice, because I needed to do something different because I never did it before. And I found CCAR right across the street.
Yeah, Cheney House is next to
Very cool.
Seatown, across the street from our little Victorian.
Yes.
How'd you find CCAR?
I
Just
really,
because we were across the street, it doesn't necessarily mean that you would have connected
I think from going to meetings or something.
there.
Yeah, going there, all recovery meetings.
Yeah.
And then I actually went to NA for the first time. I did 5 days a week, and I went to NA. Like, I went there, I sat in the front, I took suggestions, I did all that stuff for the first time in my life. I chaired, I did all that. Like, I never thought I would do that stuff. And I did it. And so I worked, I went to CCAR, I volunteered.
What were you working at?
I was at Dollar Tree Distribution Center.
Yeah.
I worked there. I took the bus. I humbled myself to take a bus. I did everything that I never said I would do. And that's when my life started changing.
Right.
You know, I made different. I started to think different. Things started to happen different. You know, and I really knew something was going to be different when me and Geraldo walked up Park Street and handed out CCAR flyers. Like, I was handing out CCAR recovery flyers to people I used to buy drugs from. Like, I was like within, because the timeout program is only 45 days. So it was 30 days, but I was in county for 15 days. So within 90 days, I'm handing recovery stuff. And then I handed a stack of recovery CCAR flyers to a cop. So I was like, can you take these and hand these out to people in case, you know, they need them, they know where we're at and this and that. So once I did that, that was like plot twist, like completely, as you say. Like
twist.
things really like changed. And I don't know, I just kept putting one foot in front of the other. I found out about the recovery coach thing. I went every Wednesday, I was there. I answered phones, I raked the leaves. I did whatever it took. You know, I did whatever it took. And while there, I got a phone call, or Virginia got a phone call, and they offered me a job at another agency as a recovery coach, and I took it. I didn't know it was a real thing. I didn't know it was possible to use my lived experience as my resume.
Right.
You know, and that became part of my recovery as well. You know, to be able to give back and how good it felt to give back to people that were like me. And Rita from CCAR, she worked for supportive housing at the time, and I was calling her every day, and she was trying to get my supportive housing and finding me housing, this and that, through the connection. And now she works for CCAR as well. So she was the person that helped me get housing so that I can get my son back.
Oh.
So I ended up getting my son back, and now I have full custody of my son. And I'm remarried. My wife plays a big part in all that. Like, you know, they say behind every successful man is a strong woman. I had to say that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure.
Well, I want to talk a little bit, like, you absolutely beam spiritually. So what's your spiritual journey been like, and where did you find all that?
My spiritual journey has been interesting. I studied a lot of different religions, as they say. I studied Hinduism. I studied different types of occultisms. I studied like Rosicrucian and things like that. Like I studied. I took my Shahada and became Muslim for like a year because I felt that you had to participate in something in order to understand it completely, because you could read about it but not get an understanding. But I was always searching for a God. Like I went to Catholic school when I was younger. I got kicked out, you know, like things like that. But I was an altar boy, like, so I was always had to search for God and what God was. And I came up with this theory that we only know what we know about God because of what our parents knew about God and their parents knew about God, and so on, so forth and so forth. So that's all we're really subjected to until we really search for it on our own.
Seek.
Seek.
You have to go seek. Yeah.
So, like, I grew up, like, Roman Catholic, so that's, like, real different than my beliefs now, but similar but different. So through NA, like, you know, the first three steps are about spirituality. And I really, they say, take what you need to leave the rest. And I did step work, I did all that stuff, and I got to restoration, and to me, I was an old pickup truck, and I was restoring the fenders because I was all nothing left, you know. So that's how I looked at that spiritually, and I just I went to a church. My wife and I went to a church, and it was a big church. You know, play 3 songs, kid daycare, on with the teaching. It was good. He was a very good pastor as far as teaching, but it was big. It was a Christian church. You know, 9:30, 11 o'clock, 1 o'clock. You know, boom, boom, boom. And I couldn't get a connection. You know, I couldn't like find that connection. You know, and but I was still searching, and I felt like I was going to a concert. Like it was just like a show. It was weird, and during COVID, we were looking online, my wife and I, and she's like, "Look at this." So we found this church, and I'm like, "Wow, let's go check it out. Like, why not?" It was a small church, Restoration Church of Worship, Restoration, and we went there. It was during COVID. They had a services outside in the parking lot, and they like welcomed us with open arms. It was like 25 people there, maybe total, and it was just a beautiful welcoming that we've never missed a service since. Like Bible study on Wednesdays. I teach Sunday school now on Sundays. It's that's all part of the process I took to learn more about the relationship that I've gained with Jesus Christ. And that was like my format. I say format, but like that was like if I look back, like that's how my being saved happened. Because I had to be subjected to all of that in order to actually experience the Holy Spirit.
You immersed yourself in all of it.
And it just created this relationship that, I mean, like, we talk all day. Like, I talk to him like he's my boy. Like, yo, listen, bro, like, this is not, like, tell me what to do here, because I don't know, you know?
I do know.
and that's really where my life has changed.
Oh, yeah?
That's, like, the true change for me. And, I mean, it's not perfect. It's not, and it's not meant to be, but I continue to seek. And it's just a beautiful opportunity to wake up every day.
Tell me about your work now.
My work?
Yeah, about being a recovery coach and working with people in the Department of Correction. How could that happen? I mean, you had so many bids. You were 23-1, locked down 23 hours a day, and now you're working with people coming out of DOC. What's up with that?
Yeah.
And what's it like?
It's a beautiful. When you say work, I ask work, like, because what is work? Because I don't consider it work, really. Like, I really don't. I really consider it part of my calling.
Right.
Like, DOC.
That's beautiful.
DOC for me is, disciple of Christ. You know?
I have never heard that.
Dominic, I have to say Dominic made that up, though. But I just
No, well, that's okay.
That's good.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. But it's definitely, the route that we follow. And I mean, it's not a job for me. It's just a part of giving back. It's just trying to support guys and show them that it's possible, that change is definitely possible. In any way, I tell guys, listen, if you want to hug a tree, I'll hug it with you. Like, that's a pathway to me if that's what you want. Like, I don't care what your pathway is. We'll figure it out. And like I said, it just comes natural because I've been there and done that. So you really can't BS me because, like, I could tell right off the rip if you're going to, like, what way you're going to go with this, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm really upfront with guys, and when I meet them, and I just let them know if they want the help or the support. I don't like to use the word help because then it kind of puts us like this. You know what I mean? So I like to say support. So I'm like, supporting them and what they want to do.
Lifting them up.
Yeah, exactly.
And being their support so they can find the pathway of recovery that works for them.
I always use the phrase like recovery coaches walking alongside you, not dragging you or pushing you, but I think I have a new favorite now. You want to hug a tree? I'll hug it with you.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Have you ever hugged a tree? I have.
Oh God, I'm going to be in the woods today.
No, I have.
He's going to get me hugging a tree.
Have you ever hugged a tree, really?
I have not hugged a
It's
tree.
pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
It's not. It's a real thing. It's real that you can actually.
No, I know it's real. I've seen people hug
No, I know, but
trees before.
it's not just like
It's a spiritual experience, is what you're saying.
if you're tuned, you can feel energy. You can feel the energy in the tree. You definitely can. Yeah. But anyway,
I'll hug a
that's
tree
all
this
another
afternoon, honey.
thing. Will you?
Yeah, I will.
All right.
I will.
I'm gonna take a picture.
As long as you're not being floky.
What's Floki?
Floki? Huh?
I don't know what Floki is.
Floki is a Viking, and he was a master shipbuilder, and he would hug the tree to figure out if it was right to make a boat out of.
Oh,
So I knew that.
Yes.
See, I love Floki. He was my favorite character. He discovered Iceland. on his own. Anyway, so I think you are a very seasoned, skilled coach because it's almost natural to you. Did you ever see this coming? Had you had a history all through your life of being able to connect and coach individuals or influence them or whatever? Do you see any connections?
Well, looking back, like I was able to do it in a negative way.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Like I could run a whole crew of whatever and however, and now it's just total opposite. Like I just.
But the same skills are
Absolutely.
used, because I often think about, like when I was on the college dorm, right? I could convince just about my entire floor to chip in for a keg party. And it was like a Tuesday night, you know. I had that skill.
Yeah.
Was it used for the right reason? No. But that skill didn't go away. So.
No, it hasn't.
No, it hasn't. It might not always still be for the right way, but usually it's for good. I try to be positive about it. For the most part, I am. But those are, it's not like. And I also realized that everything that happened before I got in recovery wasn't all bad. It wasn't all negative. And there were some positive attributes and traits and characteristics that I held that I could carry through and have carried through for recovery. So it's just a process of me for becoming more and more self-aware. Because I can't imagine, and I haven't done... I think I spent overnight in a jail. That's it, just by the grace of God, right? But if you're working with somebody that's in the system, and you share a little bit about what you've been through, that must have some power.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I definitely have been there.
Yeah,
I've definitely been there.
and they see you just kind of like. You portray that, just like these tips of things that happened in your life, that right now you seem very peaceful, very calm, and that must go a long way too. Were you always this peaceful and calm?
No, definitely not. The devil definitely had a hold of me most of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. I was very angry. I was a very angry person, like using and stuff like that. Like opioids made me really angry, and I did whatever it took to get more. And to fast forward to what you just said, like a lot of people know me, like in the system. Like I know a lot of, like I did a lot of time. I did like 16 years.
Yeah.
Overall. So
How old are you?
I'm 46.
So 16 out of 46. Wow.
Third of your life.
Third. Yeah.
Well, 16 years I was in and out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
I
like
get
I
it,
had
I
like
got it.
6 months
Yeah.
on the street, 4 months on
Yeah.
the street, things like that. But from 2001 to 2016, I was, I didn't have a good run, as they call it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know a lot of people. And if I don't know them, I know someone that they know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where the connection is made between a lot of people that I know.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's, I know the CO, I know that block, I know what happens in that block. Like, I just know that stuff, I know the lieutenants, because now the lieutenants were COs back then.
Wow.
So, like, it's...
And what does those guys say when they see you now?
It's funny because we were on a meeting with DOC and parole, and one of the guys was, Walsh, you look pretty familiar. I think we've crossed paths before. I was like, yeah, probably. So.
Yeah, probably.
What's family life like today?
Family's everything to me, really. I don't have friends. I really don't. Like, my family's my friends. Like, I could say that. I'm grateful to own a home. I own a home. Like, I bought a home 2 years ago. And, like, I never thought that was possible. As much money you make selling drugs, you don't have nothing to show for it, right?
Yeah.
And you do something right, and God provides. Like, so I spend a lot of time at my home. I go to school full time now,
Where are you going?
Liberty University.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have 2 graduates from there.
I heard.
And what are you studying?
Biblical studies.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Old Testament and New Testament, 2 now on that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty good.
Look at you.
Yeah.
So, any advice you would give to anybody out there now that you have this opportunity? What would you tell people?
I always tell people that closed mouth doesn't get fed. So there's people out there to help or support. So if you don't ask for it, people don't know you need it.
Mm-hmm.
And don't ever give up and seek to find out who you want to be.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Richie.
Thank you, Richie.
Thank you both.